Good afternoon. Hope you're having a good Friday afternoon for sure. If y'all are ready, we'll call the meeting to order. And that's a bit loud, so I'll back up some. Again, this meeting is being recorded, streamlined, stream. Is that the right word?
Live stream.
Live streamed. This meeting's been live streamed, and we'd just like to welcome those people along with anyone who's here. We'll get started today. First of all, I'd just like to say that, the city, we're here today. We're hoping we're close to getting something done. We're close to getting a compromise that works for the local 399 and works for the city of Beaumont. We're here in good faith. We've been talking for some time now. We've both had some good dialogue and some good give and take. And we hope that continues and hope we're getting really close to a point where we can get to an agreement. And that's our goal, is to get to that agreement. We've done some things. We think we presented some fair things, such as wages to the union. And our goal is let's get to a point where we can do some things that provides stability for the city, gives us stability to work together and with the community. So that's what we're here today. So I guess if you agree, we have a couple of things to TA. I know that we can get that in motion while we're talking about other things, if that's suitable for you. Okay, I'll turn it over to you.
So I think the one we have slated was the hours and overtime. That was just that one typo that we fixed, and there was nothing else from there. And then definitions, if there's nothing else we can, but if there's some other ones that you guys want to identify, we can start with that. But those are the two we had listed.
Yeah, I think Article 23, hours overtime pay, that we're agreeable to that.
Okay. We had that one ready. And then there was another one, committees. I think the only thing we added was to limit the alternates to 3.
Anyway, let's go back to
Okay.
definitions.
Okay.
We spent some time yesterday talking about cadets, and y'all gave us a definition of cadets. That's not in here anymore. And so if we're not going to have a cadet definition, I assume we're not having a cadet program that we're going to put in the contract. And if that's not in there, we probably should return to the original definition of firefighter.
Okay, let me take a look. We didn't replace the firefighter definition with cadet.
Probationary firefighter.
Okay. Up to 18 months. I think that's fine. Is it the one that, so it'd read firefighter serving his or her probationary period, and y'all don't want the 18 months?
I think it's pursuant to the government code.
Right, so let me just say, the chief is absolutely still interested in doing a cadet program. What we found yesterday is we were trying to define things and then add caveats to what the union had proposed as a possible cadet program, was that we were kind of creating maybe some expectations that was not the intent of the city in including language in the contract. So to respond to the question of whether the city's still interested in cadet program, yes, it is. And in fact, in the revised entry level article that we sent back, we kept the language about the 18 months that the union had proposed. If there's a cadet program, that 18 months would continue. So I think in terms of how long the probationary period is and whether that's built into the contract, it doesn't really matter, that it can always go to the Civil Service Commission if need be on a, as needed basis. But we were trying to follow part, at least, of what the union had proposed in that cadet language.
I just assumed that the probationary firefighter definition was created because of the cadet program, because otherwise we didn't have that. And so I would say, let's just go back to where we were to start with.
So you want no probationary definition at all, or just,
Pursuant to the government code, we had it in there.
okay,
Is there a probationary period pursuant to local government code 143027? And I'm sorry, Trey, your next, where were you next?
No, I'm sorry, it'll just read, means a firefighter who is serving his or her 1-year probationary period pursuant to the Texas Local Government Code. That's how it'll read. Okay, we can make that change.
and that'll just, then we would reflect that in the entry level. We would, of course, would want to adjust the language that we had proposed as a companion to the definition here.
I think we need to wait till we get there, at least we're there now.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to remind everybody, partly for myself, so that we know we're gonna have to address that since this is being modified.
Okay, so if there's no other changes to definitions, we can get that one ready. The next one was committees. Like I said, the only thing we added was that we limited the alternatives to 3 individuals. If there's some additional discussion, we can skip it. Okay, so we'll pass on that one. In the seniority and promotions and transfers, we removed the seniority for cadets. I'm assuming there's some additional, if there's some discussion on that one.
Which one?
Seniority, promotions, and transfers.
We agreed with that.
Okay,
Yeah, there's no problems with 7.
okay, so we'll get that one ready. You said we need to come back to committees. On education pay, I'm sorry, in additional pay, under education pay, we added the language regarding signing the tuition reimbursement agreement. And we also added language regarding the maximum number of attempts, which is what's required by the state. In that same article, under incentive pay, we rejected the assignment pay for riding the ambulance, but we also made sure that the previous edition of the dive team was added.
We do have some additional discussion on that one too.
Okay. And then we've already discussed hours and overtime. And then in the wages, I'm just going to pass that one because I'm assuming we have some discussion on that one. In temporary promotions, we changed the name to temporary duties and higher classification because that aligns with the statute. We also removed the sections 5 and 6, and we also sent you the updated policy with that language added.
I think we need to talk about that as well.
Okay. And then the last one, sorry, there's one more. I'm gonna skip over entry level hiring procedures. Because I'm assuming that relates back to the cadet and there's some discussion there. But in the wage table, we just removed EMS.
We need to discuss that as well.
Okay. So I have Definitions, Article 7, and hours and overtime, 23, Article 23, ready. Is there? And it's definitions with the definition of probationary firefighter back to its original form. Just go up and do them all. Go up and do them all.
I'd like to try to get everything put together as a package to go over in the end, to sign things, if it's okay with you.
Sure.
Do y'all want to just go down the list of, I think committees would be the first on the agenda to discuss?
What was committee called before?
Health and safety.
We talked yesterday about the fact that because of scheduling and work and vacations, different things, it's hard sometimes for us to be able to tell you who the alternates will exactly be. Perhaps the city is a little bit different, and you could list your alternates without a problem because their work hours, et cetera. But we have to have some room. One of the things we talked about was having 60. That would be 20 from each shift, and that between each shift, we should be able to get the alternates together from that group. So that's our response would be, we move it to 60 total, 20 from each shift.
So the original language did allow for them to attend while they were on duty. And so they could easily pick however many people from however many shifts to do that. And we also recommended previously allowing them, once a committee was established, allowing the committee themselves to determine when the best meeting date would be, so that there wouldn't be that problem with scheduling for conflicts with vacation and work schedule. And the union asked to return to that language. So we were trying to address that by adding in those concessions, because it makes it easier for scheduling if you allow the people who are on the committee to kind of have more agency over that. But having a situation where it's a committee meeting and you don't know who's going to go to that meeting, and that chief trying to schedule in advance, makes it a little bit more complicated.
From what standpoint is it more complicated? What are we talking about? Because we know who the members are of the committee. We've got that.
Well, not if you're saying that they get to be a total of 60. So if someone says, I'm not going to the meeting, so-and-so is going to the meeting on my behalf, well, then you're moving around. Because what if I already planned for guy A to go, and then guy B says, no,
But these
so-and-so's
are
going.
alternates, not members.
It could be anybody. If a member says that he doesn't want to go and he wants to send an alternate, I mean, we can't force anybody to participate on the committee unless they're our appointee. So my thing is like, it was intended for it not to cause a scheduling conflict. So the issues that you raise as it relates to vacation and work schedule is easily mitigated by allowing the committee to choose their date. So at the conclusion of the next meeting, the committee would say, we're going to meet again on this day. Most of the committees are standing, especially, I think the safety committee is the one that has like a regular meeting date, but like the operational guidelines committee that we propose, they can meet as often or as regular as they believe necessary. And so it doesn't necessarily need to have a standing meeting. If they decide that there's nothing really going on, then they can say, hey, we'll meet again on this date and address it.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to limit us to 3. So, I mean, if that's, I really don't understand why it's important. If one of our members of the committee can't make it that day and an alternate comes in, you didn't expect that anyway, so I don't know what difference it makes. But I think it's unreasonable to ask us to limit it to 3, given, like I said, all the issues that are involved with trying to get someone to show up and be there for that, if we need someone, an alternate to be there.
I think 20 from each shift is excessive. So I think that there has to be like a middle ground there.
I just think it makes it likely then that we would have someone available and not have to cancel the meeting if we had that type of room.
Safety is one of the main reasons that our organization exists. And we want to make sure that we put forth every effort to have a meeting about safety as often as we can. And this will make it difficult. It will make it difficult for the committee members to go through a list and have to find out who's going to show up as an alternate. In the past, we've been accommodating. When we've needed a position, we generally would pull someone from Station 1 that's on duty and be able to do it when we're afforded, that ability to be able to do that if those guys aren't on a call or something else. But there's so many different variables to try to do this that could cause us to cancel a meeting. And this is the safety of our members we're talking about. This is the like I said, one of the biggest issues that we are here for. Every effort needs to be put forth to provide the safety to our members. And I'll reiterate that it seems unreasonable to limit the number of alternates when that could potentially cancel a meeting.
Well, safety is important to us too, so that's why Chief makes it mandatory that our people attend that meeting. It's not they have a choice to hire people or the management people. So that's how important safety is to us too. They're required to be there. You're looking at 60 people, that really makes it difficult trying to plan anything. You got to deal and try to contact 60 people if somebody can't show up or be at a meeting. So we're trying to get something to make it better to hold a meeting.
Are you saying that the fire chief is going to require the committee members that I have appointed to attend those meetings whenever I?
No,
Okay, I just want to make sure.
no, Chief, will you come forward and talk to me about your process in getting your people to attend safety meetings?
As Mr. Newsom has indicated, is very, very important to both sides. So in the past, we've missed some safety committee meetings, but anybody on my side has been mandatory to make sure that they make themselves available for the safety meeting.
I just want to bring up that in the past, you've had your assistant chief was allowed to cancel some meetings before, and that's been an issue. And I want to make sure that we aren't in a situation again to where management is allowed to unilaterally cancel a meeting. That has happened in the past, Chief.
And I just admitted that, and I said that that is no longer the case.
Chief, can you tell us how far out the meetings are scheduled?
1 month, they meet once a month.
And is it a
It's a
preset
standing
date?
committee.
But is it on a particular date, like the 5th
Tuesday,
of every
second
month
Tuesday
or
of every month.
second Tuesday of every month? Okay.
So the issue isn't how far out the meeting is scheduled, it's that there's unforeseen situations that happen at the last minute. The same thing happens for him as it does for us. You have a committee member that gets sick, or a family member gets sick, or whatever the situation is, they're not able to be at work the day of the meeting. And they don't know that a week ahead of time, or sometimes even a day ahead of time. So they have sub people out as alternates, just like we have. the system has been working, minus a few hiccups along the way that the chief has already indicated. And us being able to choose, and find those alternate members at the last minute is important. So limiting us to 3 people is going to present a problem of us not being able to have a meeting. It's going to happen sooner or later. So, the point is that 3 is entirely too few. If you want to raise it, then we'd be glad to negotiate that. But definitely not going to do 3 because that's going to tie our hands in a way that we don't need to tie them. In addition to that, you mentioned the proposal of having the meeting when you want to. That's not really the spirit of what was proposed. What was proposed is that the meeting just happen when the need arises, and the need is always there. So that was our point of going back to the original language, is to ensure that we have those meetings once a month like we always do. If that date needs to change by a few days, 1, 2, 3 days, a week, that's fine, as long as it happens every single month. We've been flexible in the past on that and moved dates, and the chief has too. So we're having a big discussion about something that, correct me, tell me instances that there's been a problem with this that would create us the need to have a long discussion over whether we have 3 alternates or 60.
Well, so the good news is I think both sides it's a safety concern that's driving the conversation. And I don't think we're disaligned in that. Y'all are expressing safety as a top priority. I understand that. I think on the city side, safety is also a top priority, and it's ensuring that there's not scheduling issues that then reduce who's out responding to calls or who's at work. I think that's where the city's coming from, which is its own, the intent is to also ensure the safety of both the local members and the citizens. So
There's only going to be 3 out. If the committee is made up of 3 people, there'll only be 3, even if one of them is an alternate. And if it is so important, then why wouldn't we want to open that to ensure we have a meeting, as opposed to limit it and go, daggum, we can't have a meeting this month?
We're open to opening that, but 60, I don't think, that's a full fourth of the entire fire department. And, something reasonable, 5, 10 or something, something like that, but 25% of the fire department's on an alternate list. I think
20 per shift.
that's not beneficial to any of our productive in trying to put a meeting together with that many people.
Well, it's just 20 per shift, Mr. Williams. It's not like 60 each time.
Yeah, but when you add it up, it's that percentage of the entire department.
I want to explain a little bit too about, you mentioned it being limiting response or anything else. We've always been flexible. Those members that are meeting in there, the ones that are on duty, are not out of service. They generally work at that station. And if a call comes in, we could be flexible enough for them to respond. They're at their own station generally, and it's not going to prevent anything. It never has in the past. That safety committee has never caused a problem or conflict with our response issues or our response times.
well, and I appreciate that. I meant more scheduling the appropriate staff if somebody's going to be attending the meeting and unavailable, not if something were to happen while the meeting's going on. Does that make sense? It looks like it did make sense.
You're talking about equipment being put out of service for a meeting? Because that happens every single day.
No, I'm not. I'm
almost.
actually not talking about that. So my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm really trying to get us towards a solution here, because this seems like something we should be able to figure out. What I understand the issue to be is if you've got 60 who can be on an alternate list, when the department's trying to schedule who's going to work when, and it could be any one of 60 people who's out without really there being any advance notice, it creates issues with the scheduling for whenever that meeting is gonna happen. So are we on the same page up to that?
I'm not, because
Okay.
I would like to know where this issue even came from. Where's a example of an issue that we've ever had with being able to hold these meetings once a month on the second Tuesday of every month? When have we ever had an issue with being able to do that? Why is it necessary for any change? This is a joint committee. The city and the union appoint their people to attend the meeting, and it always changes. The chief changes committee members nearly every shift because he pulls in the on duty deputy chief. We don't know who that is going to be one day. It could be any of the 3 deputy chiefs. It could be any of the district chiefs that are on duty that get upgraded to that position, but we don't know who they are. We've never had an issue with that. The main point of this is to hold a safety meeting where in any other organization that I know of, any individual, no matter what their rank, can bring a safety issue up. That's what's important to us.
And I'm not disagreeing with the importance of the safety meeting. I'm just trying to figure out how we solve the problem. So it's, and maybe, Chief, we need to hear a little bit more about the scheduling, if that's the.
As to the scheduling of the safety committee, we've been pretty consistent with the same 2 to 3 people, and we're committed to that. We haven't missed a safety committee on our part in quite a while.
He's talking about from the union side, scheduling their workers.
I mean, we've worked with them, like Jeff had indicated, because we're committed to safety. It's important to both sides.
Does it matter to you really who's going to be there? Have you asked in advance before who's going to be there?
I try to stay away from the safety committee itself because they bring things to me. I know on my side who's going to be there.
Right.
Yes, sir.
But, sorry, Chief, is it, I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No.
Can you talk to the group about if they're, let's say as the unions proposed, there's 60 alternates. What is the issue in terms of scheduling that potentially presents for the city?
It could be a member that come from way across town on a piece of equipment, everything. I would like the committee to be consistent, which is why I've been consistent in my standing orders to my committee members to be there. And I will look and see, it has been a long time since we canceled the safety committee because I didn't have members. But we tried to work with them as best as possible to make sure that that committee meets.
Okay.
It's that important to me, as well as to them also.
So on that, I appreciate that. It's a lot easier, I think, for him to force his members to be at committee meetings because he's paying them to do it, which is another point that we'll bring up in a minute, something that was missed on this particular article. But from a scheduling standpoint, we have 3 permanently assigned members to that committee. They're not all on one shift. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they're all 3 on different shifts. There may be 2 of them that are on the same shift, but one of them works at Station 1, I know, so that's not an issue. And typically when we run into an issue where somebody is unavailable, it's somebody, not all of them. So you're replacing one person. So pulling one person from a different station to fill in a spot for a meeting is not a scheduling difficulty for the shift. And we're not talking about 60 people to pull from the shift. We're talking about 60 total. So that's why we said 20 per shift. So you're talking about 20 people that are eligible to pull from that shift. You're not going to pull 20 people because you only need 3 total. So when we have to replace somebody, it's typically only one person, and it's typically done fairly easily. And a lot of times we're able to find somebody that's already working at Station 1 to do it.
Are alternates on the union side necessary pretty often?
I don't know that.
Okay.
Let's say it just depends. It may be a couple of months in a row, but then we may go several months without needing an alternate. I wouldn't classify it as a regular occurrence.
Are all the alternates you're proposing going to be from Station 1, or they're going to be from multiple stations?
That causes another issue. I mean, I don't know who works at Station 1 every single day.
Well, I'm
So
asking.
there's a lot of swing personnel that work there. And I also don't know in advance what the department scheduling is of whether or not they're going to have other people assigned to different trainings or what have you. You know, it makes it really complicated for our side to be able to do that. I'll say even picking from 20 people per shift and having to have my committee chair member responsible for contacting all of these people and finding someone to show up there versus just pulling someone from Station 1 is going to cause a problem for him. We're just trying to hold a meeting. They generally last about an hour. I mean, we put fire trucks out of service every day to attend meetings. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, it's pretty often. I mean, I don't think we've ever had any issues because in most cases, we do keep them in service to make those responses. So.
Well, we're committed to the safety committee meeting. In fact, we push out the minutes every time to that same day to get them out so the members can see what's going on.
So I think we can, whenever we break to talk about them, we can look at your proposal. Was there something additional, though, you mentioned on this one? Cody, I think you said there was something that got missed, or?
Yes, under the health and safety section 2D, that was previous language that we departed from in our previous discussions. The time spent in committee meetings by the union representatives while off duty shall not be compensated. That was agreed upon by both of us to remove. In our, reevaluation of the contract as a whole, that was my mistake. So I accidentally left that in there. That was a mistake on my part.
I think it is. Like, can you tell me what section it is again?
Yes, health and safety, the section 2, under the committees. 2D, yeah. Second to, well,
It's redlined through.
no, well, it is on our side. That's just our
Okay.
notes.
So, yeah, so we can take that out.
Okay.
Okay, so we moving on.
Yeah,
Or
is
you have
there anything
something
else on that article?
I'm sorry, the line will just say, time spent in committee meetings by union representatives while off duty shall not be compensated, and the union shall provide a list of members, and then that's where we have the further discussion, but that's where the paragraph would start.
Yeah, the time spent in committee meetings by the union representatives while off duty shall not be compensated would just be struck through, would be taken out. That's what we're saying.
Okay, so the first sentence is fine, so the time on duty, it's fine, but you want to remove the language where it says while off duty shall not be compensated? Because I think we did discuss that.
You are correct. That would be removed. Yes, we did discuss that. That's why the wording is the way it is in the other committee. That's why it doesn't have that we aren't compensated, our members aren't compensated while off duty.
Okay, I'll check it.
Ms. Reed, we were talking, I want to go back just a minute. We were talking about the 20, and after hearing the discussion and with conversation I'm having here about, it's going to be hard on the committee member to contact those people. And I would, when you talk to the chief, I would ask you to visit with him. If the process has been working and we can get alternates that doesn't really impact scheduling as you're talking about, we just leave it like it is without worrying about numbers. So we can just have pull someone from there and do it.
We can talk about it.
Okay, I think the next one then was the additional pay that y'all indicated you wanted to discuss.
Just a typo, I believe. In section 2, the next to last line, beginning with $100, you're saying, and $400, parentheses, $450. So we need to add the word 50. Yeah, you're setting out how much they're getting paid, and you say,
Okay, I see what you're saying. It's in parentheses $400, but it's in parentheses it's $450.
right.
I got you.
And I think under section 3 and 4, that we need to see a little more language to see what that looks like.
Where are you?
It's in Appendix D. Section 3 refers to Appendix D.
The training agreement,
Right.
tuition reimbursement, they have a copy of it.
You indicated yesterday that y'all would use the one from the city,
It's virtually the
different-
same, but we can give it to you again.
the one that you included in the last contract?
Almost verbatim, like virtually the same. I think we changed it just for specifically for the paramedic program, but the language is almost the same, but we can produce it.
Okay, because we didn't agree with the majority of what was in the agreement that was added to the contract that was voted on. And the majority of our members didn't either. So that's why we talked about using the reimbursement form that the city already uses for their tuition reimbursement program that's set out by a city policy.
It's almost the same, but okay.
It's not.
I'll get it to you.
Okay.
As to the elimination of teams, are there some teams that are thought that will be eliminated, that we need to eliminate some?
Chief, you want to answer that? Not at this time.
Maybe the chief could get up and just answer. Are we going to eliminate the hazmat team?
We're not, there's no plan to eliminate any teams at this point,
None of them.
not at this point.
So then we don't need that language.
I think you do. I think the chief deserves the ability Under management rights, it says that he has the ability to abolish positions. And like we said, if you guys are saying that you agree that that includes being able to remove special teams, then you're right, we don't need it. But if there's going to be some debate on whether or not the chief has the ability to evaluate and structure teams the way he feels is necessary for the department, then I think it is important to have that language.
If he was able to do it already under management rights, then we wouldn't be adding this language.
It's not whether he has the ability to do it. I think sometimes in contracts and when we go to arbitration, it's not whether or not it's specifically stated, it's whether or not the union believes he has the ability to do it. And so we spend a lot of time in arbitration saying whether or not that's the correct interpretation. So I prefer plain language that the parties have acknowledged explicitly that that's part of his ability to do that.
Has there been a team eliminated that resulted in arbitration?
Not to my knowledge, but I think the purpose is for the chief to be able to evaluate with the changing structure of the department, to be able to evaluate the teams and be able to adjust and make changes to the teams, whether that's combining, eliminating, or creating a new team at his discretion.
Well, again, I don't understand why we add things. It's like having a statute and saying that the parties will agree to abide by the statute. There's no reason to put that. You have a statute that you have to abide by. So why have it in the contract? The only other thing is in section 3 at the bottom, there should be the word be, be, in between the last two words.
Where are you?
Section 3.
Under which provision? Which provision? Either, are we in incentive pay still?
Yeah, it's in the same,
Okay, so we're in incentive pay, section 3.
section 3, special operation team dives. I think you got the B in the wrong place. Such maybe it should read pay that might otherwise be applicable.
I just took it directly from the old contract. I didn't change it, but if you want to reword it, we can. That's how it was originally worded. Do you want to change it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I didn't do the original one.
Neither did I.
Were y'all fine with the 3 attempts on the test? That was one of the other changes that we brought back today.
I do have something on that. After talking with a few people and getting a better understanding of timelines and how that works, it is possible for a person to be able to use their time wisely in a 6-month period and be able to get their 6 attempts in.
3
Sin-
attempts.
What's that?
Only 3 attempts.
There's 6 total. You get 3 and then you have to take a refresher and then you get 3 more. So
But that's what we're saying. We don't want to pay for them
So
to
if
take a
you'd let me
refresher.
finish, then I can explain to you what I'm trying to get to. So my point is, if they get 6 attempts total before they have to retake the whole entire course again, they've invested the time to get to the testing point. So understanding that now that they would have that time to get those extra attempts in and the refresher if they use their time wisely in that 6-month period, I would say that after those first 3 attempts on their own dime, they would be allowed to take those other 3 attempts and the refresher as long as it's done within the 6-month period of time. The cost is to them after the first 3 attempts, but as long as they're able to get it all done within that 6-month period, then the goal is for them to get certified, not to have to take the whole course over again and not to have wasted, frankly, everybody's time going through that. So exhaust all efforts. Those are some things that I didn't know yesterday, that we didn't know yesterday, that we know now, that I think would be important to include in there.
So essentially, they just don't lose the benefit of everything else by having to take the refresher on their own.
Right, so that it just gives them an opportunity, if the time allows, again, then after that third attempt, then they can take the refresher, they can try more attempts on their own dime after that, to where they don't have to pay the city back for the whole entire program if they're able to get what's done to be able to become certified.
That makes sense. Did y'all have language for that particular, that would cover that?
Uh,
Or do you
I can
want us to-
type something up.
They would pay the fee after that.
Are you also proposing that the employee would pay for everything after the refresher course, so including the testing costs post then?
Right,
So everything would be at their expense? Okay.
right.
I think that sounds pretty reasonable if y'all want to just shoot us something that we can maybe plug in there.
So I guess my thing is like, I don't know where you would change the language because it kind of already gives them, we're already saying we're only going to pay for the 3 attempts. So do you want to add like a caveat to that to say that the employee will be allowed on their own to test, to take 3 additional tests? Because I don't want it to be like clear that we're like giving them additional times, or we're sticking with the 6 months and we're sticking with the fact that the city's going to pay for the first 3 attempts and that the cost post then is on them. Is it that they don't have to pay it back if they pass on their own? Is that the second part that I'm missing?
Correct, yeah. I mean, it could be as simple as adding something underneath the,
Yeah, I just want to make sure that that's it. It's just that the employee would get the benefit of not having to pay it back if they took the initiative to pay for the test for the 4th time and then passed it.
Correct.
Right, okay. That's what I understand, okay.
Anything else on that, on any of the additional pay article? All right, so next one on the list then is wages. I'll bet y'all the free Slurpee they're giving out today that you're not in agreement on our proposal. Huh? It is, right? I'm trying. Sure. Next was the temporary duty. We modified it to, rather than say temporary promotions, to the temporary duties and higher classification, just to track the statutory language. And I think what we attempted to do yesterday was take the union suggestion and remove some of the language from the contract and put it into the policy that I understand the union has been working with administration on.
yes, we did look over the SOG that you sent. Just a couple of minor things that we wanted to point out. Under section V1, give you a second to get to it. There's some additional language there that we didn't discuss before that we're not in agreement with. The members who have pre-scheduled training may not be placed in a higher classification. That particular language we do not agree with.
So that came from a settlement with one of your members. That's directly from the settlement agreement. And that's why we included it. It's just it's a current practice based on that.
But that settlement was not to limit our members' ability to be upgraded. That was to absolve that grievance.
Right, but it was
And
also to
the city's
address-
agreement that it was, that the contract was violated.
But it was also to address pre-scheduled training. So if a member has training that doesn't impact with their upgrade, they'll still get it. If they have the training that does impact it, then obviously the training would supersede the upgrade.
Who makes that determination?
It'll be based, it's the training. So if, like I said, if you're training and it doesn't impact your ability to be upgraded, then it's fine. But if it does, then it doesn't. So I guess it depends on your training officer, chief, or whoever makes that determination on it.
Right, I understand your point, but we're not in agreement with that language. There's new language under section VA4.
So honestly, like, we're not here to debate the policy. We said that from jump. So if the policy isn't fine, then we'll go back to adding the language directly back into the contract to go away. Because
Sounds good.
like, we don't want to debate the chief's policy. So he has the ability to change his policy. We sat down with him and worked with him on this. So if the union's in a disagreement with the policy as it stands, then we'll revert back to the language in the contract.
That's fine with us. The section 5 and 6, if you want to add it back into the contract, you can. But just to be clear, changing that policy to that language that you proposed would be changing our members' benefit. It will create a grievance down the line if that happens.
So
Be clear on that.
But again, there's a document signed by both the city and the union agreeing to that effect. So in my opinion, it's something that's already been agreed to. My thing is, like, we agreed at the beginning of the negotiations that we wouldn't direct policy. At the union's request, we did sit down with the chief to amend the policy. So if there's a big if about policy changes, then I believe that that's a conversation that y'all should have with the chief, not at the negotiation table. If you want the language back in the contract, we can definitely do that. If you want to leave the language in the contract, we can do that as well.
Yeah, I don't want any of the language. You guys do. So if you're insistent on that language being somewhere, then you can put section 5 and section 6 back in the contract, and we can move forward and we can address it at a later date in some other negotiation period. But we're not going to agree to that one line. And I believe that's really the only one. But we don't have to talk policy. We never wanted to.
Okay, so we'll put the highlighted language back into the contract where it had previously been. Is there anything else on the Article 26? Nope, okay. So we're at 27, entry-level hiring. And to get started, we had talked yesterday about the cadet program. It's definitely something that the city is interested in pursuing. The chief's got a kind of an outline of that, that he's planning to roll out. We just didn't want to create some expectation that there was going to be a cadet program that conformed to a certain structure, which is kind of what this is starting to sound like. And I had proposed yesterday adding a caveat that having anything in this section doesn't require the chief to create a particular type of cadet program. And it just seemed like it was getting to be overly complicated and unnecessary. So we're back to essentially the original language in the contract with just kind of some grammatical changes. And then the one paragraph in there that the union had proposed that we did keep for the 18-month probationary period, but we don't have a problem taking that back out in light of the definition we talked about earlier. With that said, do y'all have anything you want to?
Yeah, you
Pick
probably
around.
see, take that, everything read out. You probably should just take that last paragraph out. If the employer's discretion creates a cadet program. There's not enough there. I mean, there's, how are they gonna be hired, what are they gonna be paid, I mean, that kind of stuff. If it's, just saying if we do really doesn't belong here.
No, and I'm fine with that. This was, the intent was to be a compromise, keeping some of what I understood the union wanted, which was if there's a cadet program, we want 18 months already baked into the time period that they're on probation. So we're happy to take that out, and essentially this just goes back to the original contract language.
But the original contract didn't say if we create a program, did it?
No, I understand that, and that whole paragraph would come out. What I'm saying is, the union had proposed pretty much that paragraph, and we were trying to keep some of what the union had asked for.
Right.
But we can just take it all out and go back to,
Yeah, y'all did away with that. So again, y'all don't want it, so there's no reason to have what we wanted in there.
I'm not disagreeing with you, that's fine. Anything else on that one?
Yeah, could I just ask why you don't want the cadet program in the contract?
I think we said multiple times that the chief does want a cadet program, but he wants to be able to have the discretion to be flexible in amending the program
How so?
and making changes. I don't know, Cody, you're asking me to think ahead and convince somebody's mind, just like you said,
Well,
you can't predict the future, neither can I.
I'm not asking you to
My
predict the
thing is-
future. You have a reason for taking it out of the contract. I know you
that's-
guys had a discussion yesterday, so we don't
And
have
that's
to.
the reason. He
we don't
said
have
he
to
wants
do
some
that.
flexibility in being able to amend the program. You don't get that flexibility when it's hardlined in the contract. If he creates a program and wants to make amendments to it, he can do that if it's not in the contract specifically outlined that way. So the reason for removing it was not to cut the cadet program in its entirety, it was to give the chief more flexibility in how the program is operated.
Why not put it in the program so there's not any question about it? So we know what we're dealing with. Like you said earlier, he wants the ability to do things that he already has the ability to do, but he wants it in here so we don't have any argument about it. Well, why don't we put the
There's no
cadet
argument
program-
about it because he has the management, under management right, he controls the hiring process, he controls those things. So it's just not necessary, to use your words, it's not necessary to put something in the contract that he already has the ability to do.
How come when we are asking it's that, and when you're asking it's the opposite of that? You want it in there to give clarity, but when we want something for clarity, you say, well, no, it's not necessary.
Because we don't file grievances, good. We don't do that.
Well, but that's because sometimes maybe there's not clarity. If there was clarity, maybe we wouldn't file grievances.
I disagree.
You see, you're projecting the future. You don't know that.
When the tea leaves read a certain way, it's not so much predicting the future, it's going on past practices. So it's a situation where, in this case, the chief wants to be able to have the flexibility to amend and make adjustments to the policy that he doesn't have if it's outlined in the contract. So to Kelly's point, we did want to put the language in there that the cadet program, because that was something mentions a cadet program, but we don't want to be tied on how the cadet program will be operated.
Will the hiring process be pursuant to civil service or be hiring civilians?
It's up to the chief.
It shouldn't be. The law says in a civil service department, you should be hiring by civil service rules. So
We have an article in the agreement that allows the chief to designate the hiring process. And I think that's exactly the concern, is that if we start putting in things like a cadet can enter the program without TCFP and or TDSHS certification, first of all, that's not clear. Is it one, they're coming in single cert, they're coming in with nothing? And I think it's a program that's being kind of piloted and developed right now and needs time to work itself out. But this article that has been in place gives the chief the discretion to determine the criteria for entry-level hiring. And that's, the intent is to have a cadet program and to see how it works and allow the chief to make changes without having to come back to negotiate that in the contract.
you say it's in the language, just in the proposed language, right? It's not in the contract now that he has the right to determine hiring procedures.
No, that's original language.
Yeah, that's in the contract now.
That's original language.
You're talking about the selection process?
Yeah, that's
where
original.
words the selection process?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
original. language.
that's not entirely what that means. That means that the civil service exam is given. He has the ability to be able to select the next person to be hired. And if they're certified, dual certified, he could pick them first because he has the right to do that. If they're single certified, he has the right to put those people in order, and he actually has the right to make the selection. But it does not mean that he has the ability to bypass or circumvent civil service law.
And nobody's suggesting that he's bypassing or circumventing civil service law.
Well, your language says employers should not be bound by or subject to the entry-level hiring procedures set forth in Chapter 143 Local Government Code.
Right, because Chapter 143 allows there to be changes, we're not circumventing anything if there's a change made in the contract, which is what has happened here.
We don't agree to that.
That's original language. It's been in the contract like that for years. So now if we're going to go away and debate something that's been there for a very long time, we're starting from scratch on a lot of
Like we
issues.
spent a lot of time on the cadet program, and now we're back to the beginning,
We
starting
didn't
from
spend a lot
scratch.
of time on it. We talked about it for a day.
Yeah,
We
well,
worked on it.
I think we're both on record as wanting a cadet program and having a cadet program. And I think I've had discussions with y'all if you would be receptive to a cadet program. And I think the answer was that's what we've been wanting. So the chief has proposed a cadet program, and that's one of our way of going forward and getting people in place. So at this point, the city's committed to that and doing that. So we're on record for saying that. But the chief needs the ability to be able to manage his department.
Yeah, the reason we're asking all the questions is because it seemed like we were all on track for the cadet program and the language that was in there until I made that statement yesterday to make sure that we were on the same page that cadet or dual certified, you're hired as a civil service employee, and now all of a sudden it's gone, but there's no reason.
I
I
think
believe there is a
a lot
reason.
of questions today are the reasoning and why, what's the ulterior motives. We're having no ulterior motives. We're trying to get to a place where we can get an agreement for Local 399 in the city and for the people of this city. So there's no intent to, every time we come up with the recommendation, there's a motive to circumvent something with Local 399. That's certainly not the case. We're here trying to get an agreement done.
So if a cadet program is established, will those cadets be hired as civil service employees?
That's yet to be determined. That's the answer.
You asked me to come back with a list yesterday. Just want to let you know that I did reach out to Arlington. Arlington was in agreement with our side. Our explanation of it, and I'm sorry, hold on just a second before you jump in.
They've only had civil service for like 5 minutes, but go ahead.
I also, it doesn't matter, they still agree, and they still started this program, but I also spoke with the International Association of Firefighters. They're in agreement too. I decided to stop there. If you guys want to investigate it anymore to determine if that's how civil service works, you're free to do that. But we definitely have already, I know that the IAFF is behind it. And so we're just trying to prevent any other further grievances or arbitrations. And you asked for the information. You wanted to know who did it. And I found that out for you. So feel free. We provided the city a list a long time ago of departments that have changed to put in a cadet program. We've given that information to you before, so you could go back and look through that as well.
Yeah, I'm familiar with a lot of the cities on the list in the cadet programs, which is why I asked the question, because that's, in my view, it's unusual for it to be done the way Arlington is doing it. But that's neither here nor there.
What authority is there to swear them in after they've completed everything?
143 says they are entitled to full-fledged civil service protection after they've completed their probationary period. So that's the time at which they're sworn in. They don't get sworn in as a firefighter on day one in a cadet program if the cadet program, they come in and they're not already firefighters. So if they walk in off the street, 18, 19 years old, the chief doesn't swear them in on day one and say, okay, now you're a firefighter. They have to finish the program and then serve their probationary period, and then 143 says they have full-fledged civil service protection. So that's why most departments do it that way.
The eligibility under civil service says that you only have to be 18 years old to qualify for a civil service.
Yeah, I wasn't talking, that had nothing to do with when they can take the exam. I was just giving an example. If somebody comes in and takes it, they don't walk in off the street and have civil service protection as a brand new cadet in that program. So I didn't even honestly remember you had mentioned that yesterday, Cody, to be candid about the civil service. It was really because, as I had mentioned at the table, I was going to go in and add a section that made a caveat to what you guys had proposed, and it just was getting out of hand, and it seemed like it made more sense to strike that, leave it the way it was. The cadet program is coming. I think, as everybody has said, that is the intent, and to let the chief manage that program and let the city manage that program, and develop it in an appropriate way that gets the most qualified and the best candidates here.
I don't understand what's so confusing about it. As what's crazy is because this department's been civil service since 1964 or so. There were never any complications before the change 20 years ago. There were never any complications. Other departments aren't having any problems with it being confusing. I mean, civil service code is written on about 10 pages. I mean, or very few pages in this book. I just don't see anything that is confusing about any of these statutes or any of these requirements.
I'm not saying it, I'm not confused about what 143 says. What I was saying was we kept adding things into this particular article and then having to carve out caveats, because the idea for the city always was to allow the chief to create this process and manage it in a way that makes the most sense and gets the best candidates into the city. And so as we started adding things, that's what was creating unnecessary complications. So.
Yeah, it may be simpler than to just change our entry-level hiring procedure back to just follow Chapter 143. And then it would be less confusing, as you said, because the statute's easy to understand. And we just would follow Civil Service Chapter 143 and be done. It's not confusing at all, very straightforward. And that would probably be the easiest way to go forward.
Also, if I might, Nugent versus City of Houston is a case. 2001, it says that sections 143.025 and 143.026 provide that entrance examinations are to be administered before the fire department applicants are hired into the training academies, and that the defendants cannot hire applicants into beginning positions without first administering the exam. The court said it is not persuaded by defendant's argument. None of the cited authority supports defendant's argument that the Texas legislature allows a police or fire applicant to successfully complete academy training before taking the entrance exam, because academy trainees' positions are beginning positions within the meaning of the statutes. 143.025 and 6 impose a legislative requirement that entrance exams are to be administered before applicants enter the academies. And so they're sworn before they go.
That doesn't say they're sworn. That says they take the test before they go to the academy. And I know maybe you haven't practiced under 143 as much, but the Houston rules are specific to Houston. They apply only to a city with a population of 1.5 million or more. So they're in a whole different category. But it's really here nor there. That's not really what we're talking about. The chief is not saying he wants to administer the test after the cadet program. And that's what you just read was about the timing of the test. So I think we're getting way off topic here.
I think you have to swear them before they take the test.
That's absolutely not correct.
I'd just point out also that article in itself is not exclusive to Houston. There are articles that are exclusive to Houston. That is not one of them. So that would be
We're getting way off.
not correct.
We're getting way off
Yeah,
topic here.
Where is that, Jeff? Show me that. I mean, how do we know that?
Show you what?
That it's not
If
exclusive.
you go
to
through
use.
if you go through Texas Local Government Code, Chapter 143, whenever there's a statute that affects a department that is over 1.5 million
Right.
people, it outlines that in the article. So you would know.
So there's an
what it
Article
does.
143.
Well, so, but again, but that's what he's reading in the proposition there is about the timing of the test. And I don't think, and I'll ask the firefighters, are you in agreement that you are supposed to take the test before the academy?
When you're taking that test, when you're taking a civil service exam, you're taking a test for a beginning position. And that position in the fire department is a civil service position.
Okay, I don't
the
think
point-
that's answering my question.
The point that we're trying to make is that when you give a civil service exam, it's for a beginning position in the fire department that is a civil service fire department. We're trying to get clarity on what you're going to do with this cadet program, since you're wanting to take it out of the contract and allow him the flexibility, which we don't have any explanation on what it is, to do whatever he wants to do with it. So we're trying to get ahead of a problem that is going to exist if you give a civil service exam and you hire somebody off of that list as a civilian. That's all we're trying to do. If you want to do it, go ahead. We don't have to keep talking about it. But
And I agree
we're
with you,
going
Cody.
to respond to
Let's
that.
quit talking about it. We don't want it part of the contract, just like y'all do us. Okay, thank you.
All right. The next one was the wage table, and the only change there was removing the EMS. Per the union's request yesterday.
Don't agree.
I'm sorry, what?
We don't agree
You don't agree to removing,
with that article. Oh, the wage table. Yeah, wage table. We're fine there. Except we don't know what pay would be assigned to a cadet if you did the program. Since you're saying there may be one, and we're interested in it, because all these nuances we're concerned about, well, what's their pay gonna be then? Or, because that's what you have a wage table for.
I don't,
Previously, the union stated that they didn't want to negotiate pay for employees that weren't hired. So are we no longer, is that no longer the case?
What are we talking about now?
I said previously, the union stated they didn't want to negotiate pay for employees that weren't hired. So is that no longer the case now? Are we now wanting to discuss pay for future employees?
Well, if you're gonna put together a program, we'd like to know what that is, unless we're gonna negotiate it later. But you're acting like he can then institute that program without us knowing anything. So to know whether it impacts and how it impacts us and our pay, we'd like to know what the wages would be for a cadet.
What do you mean impact your pay?
Well, in terms of where they're gonna fall on the table.
Well, they couldn't make more than a firefighter.
No, but how much is it going to be? And will it impact us such that it will involve future negotiations?
What do you mean by involve?
By how much you're going to pay them? I mean, what are you going to pay them?
I guess I'm just trying to understand like the concern when you said it's going to impact the pay of firefighters.
So you're requesting another article, or you were mentioning another article that the fire chief, when or if he decides he wants to create this cadet program, that he can just do it. Well, when he does that, we're going to need to know what the pay is, so we're going to have to negotiate that at some time. If that language stays in there that he could create the cadet program tomorrow, whenever we walk out of this room, we're going to need to come back to the table and figure out what they're going to pay, because that is a beginning position of the Beaumont Fire Department. You're being hired by the Beaumont Fire Department for the Beaumont Fire Department in a beginning position, and we've always negotiated pay for beginning positions.
So we're not negotiating for somebody that doesn't work here. We're negotiating what the wages are that are paid to them whenever they get hired. Just the same way that the wages are in here for a starting salary. Well, those people don't work here yet, but they will. So again, this goes back to the previous discussion in part, and I'm not going to get off into it again, don't worry. The point is, when you hire a new firefighter in the fire department, they get paid a wage. And if the cadet firefighter pay isn't in there, then they're going to get the start to 1 year wage.
And your stance might have changed, but in my conversation and initial conversation on talking about the cadet and having a cadet program, I was told that we don't care what they pay, we just support the cadet program. And I was told that directly in a meeting with union.
That hasn't changed. You still have to put it in the wage table,
Yeah,
Mr.
but you
Williams.
said you don't care about, so.
It still has
what's
to
the
go
issue
in
now?
there for a
Hey, man, I'm
ratified
just going on
contract.
record. You said you didn't care what
I'm
that
going on
pay
record
is.
agreeing with you, Mr. Williams.
Cody,
We've
yes.
said that we don't care what they're paid. You can choose their pay, but you have to put it in the wage table. We're not going to leave a wage table blank in any way. It's not going to happen.
I'm just telling you what I was told by the union.
Right.
You
And-
don't
and
care.
Mr.
I
Williams,
understand that.
and
Can,
Mr.
can,
Williams-
can we talk, please? And I understand.
Ed, but the conversation was between me and you, not you and Cody.
And you're
so
the
directed
president
to
of the
me.
union, Jeff, and you told me that as president of the union. And you said, just give me the cadet program. I don't care what they make. That's up to y'all. Whatever that is, that's up to y'all. And I was just quoting with that. I was not quoting whatever Cody's talking about. I don't know what he's talking about. But I was just telling you about our conversation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to say on the record that you're misquoting me but I did say that you could put whatever pay you wanted in the contract. I didn't
No,
say.
we weren't talking about the contract at the
Will you let
time.
him talk?
Sure.
Okay. So I just wanted to correct that for the record, that you're misquoting me and that our discussion was just that we're not concerned with what amount you want to pay them, but we want it in the contract.
Oh.
That's what we've talked about forever, is that the cadet program needed to be in the contract. I know you guys don't want it in there anymore, and that is perfectly fine. But when we put it in there, it needs to be in there. And if you tell us, we come back to the table and you tell us we're going to put this in the contract and this is how much we're going to pay them, we will be okay with it.
Are you finished? I'm just going on record to say the union president told me in a discussion that they did not care what the cadets were paid. And that's what I was told. And I'm on record, I go on record that I was told about that. And we were not discussing a contract at the time. We were talking about ways to increase hiring at the department. Thank you.
All right, I think the last one then is the wages. And not the table, but the article
Right.
wages.
As to section 2, we would propose that it be changed. You know, y'all say we don't negotiate. We've tried before. We've asked for some testing. We've asked for credentials. We've asked for different things, and it's been told no, no, no. We've been told we're not going to budge on this. It's not negotiable. And we tried. We'll try one more time. We don't think currently the organizational structure really requires additional help, nor do I think that if you get to 300 on your certified positions that it would require, because right now you're handling what you've got with a straight up organization with one person at the head reporting to the chief. So there's not so much spread out that he can't do it now. I don't know what business would have a structure like that, because you're taking everything to one person, and that one person is filtering it to the chief, as opposed to spreading out. Most corporations and companies they'll have a CFO and a COO, and they'll have a health and safety, and they'll have a HR department, and they report to different people. It comes up to the top, and you get feedback from all kinds of folks. The trouble with the structure that the chief currently has set up is that if that one person at the head has something going on, then he filters things his way, and there's no other approach to the chief. Whereas if you have it spread out like it used to be before we had the recent change, other people can report to him. It sort of it tamps down the opportunity for misdirection or something from that one person heading to the chief, because he's afraid perhaps that some of the others may tell the chief another side, and then he'd be discovered. So we disagree with the structure. We do think at some point, perhaps, as we've said before, you get to the point where perhaps you're able to be in a position, if you're spread out, to need more people. The problem with your language currently is you just certify 300 and he gets assistant chief. And there doesn't seem to be a reason for it. If you're not managing more than what we got right now, there's no reason for a second assistant chief. He's handling everything we've got. So our last attempt, I think, at trying to be working on this with you and to negotiate would be that, that if you get between 300 and 600 certified firefighters and the staffing level reaches 95%, because you said you'll never get to 100%, recognizing that, then if the staffing level gets to 95% of the allotment, then you get a right to a second chief, assistant chief.
Just so I make sure we're speaking the same language. When you say staffing level, you mean filled positions?
Yes, ma'am.
With certified firefighters, civil service personnel.
Right.
Of course, that's what. And just to follow up on that a little bit, you had mentioned, the law doesn't allow for this or that. Yesterday, when we discussed the second assistant chief, we pulled this right out of the statute. This is what the law contemplates, that at 300, a fire department needs to have a second assistant chief. So that is verbatim, the 300 to 600 certified firefighters. We were trying to honor what you had said yesterday in creating this proposal, which would just allow the city to have that without having to come back to the table. And to your point, if it goes straight up and there's only one person, I mean, that a second assistant chief would break up that reporting and give you one other person that then reports to the chief. So
There's no room for that in his structure. It's straight up. And
I know, but if we had a second assistant,
you
no,
left off
well,
one other thing.
Let me
that it says that
respond.
This
is, Glenn, it's not helpful when you keep talking over me.
You finished one subject and you won't let me talk about that. You want to mention something else. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I
floor is
appreciate
yours.
it. If he has a second assistant chief, it breaks up the problem that you're talking about, which is going straight up and down the line. And it creates another person who is then reporting to the chief, which you just said is a problem that you see in the organization. So please.
Well, again, like I said, before we met last month, it wasn't a problem. But the other thing you left off about the statute is that requires union agreement. You have to negotiate that. You don't just get that. You have to have union approval. So we're not willing to agree to that language is the bottom line. We've made another offer to try to negotiate. If that's not acceptable, that's fine. Y'all told us it's not negotiable from day one. So we've done our best, I think. Maybe we should caucus a little bit now.
Okay, 30 minutes enough. We'll come back at 3:30, and if you need more time, just give us a call. We'll adjourn. We'll get a couple of minutes for Ms. Alvin to come down and we'll get started. And we will resume and give a report on what we decided.
So we tried to appreciate giving us a little extra time. We were trying to type up some of the proposed changes into the article so we could hopefully wrap some of these up. I think we're now pretty close. I'm pretty optimistic we can get to the end of this. So if you want to, I guess we'll just kind of start in the order they were this morning with I think the committees was the first of the non-TA'd. I did change the title to committees. That wasn't there before, or I think it was already done, but not in this draft. And after talking with the chief, who echoed the importance of the safety committee on his side, he was willing to agree to remove that language that was in there, as y'all had asked, and make that gesture of good faith to keep the committees going. We did, if you want to go down a little bit, Shrey. So the first two sentences are struck. I think that's what y'all had been asking for when we got started this afternoon. And the only other change is that in the operational guidelines committee, where it had just said members appointed to each committee, we added operational guidelines, since that would only apply to that particular committee. So we think that's fair, and in the spirit of trying to get to an agreement, we hope the union will accept those changes and we can agree on this article.
In the Health and Safety Committee, the language that we talked about striking was the time spent in committee meetings by the union representatives while off duty shall not be compensated. That's still there, is that?
I missed that. Yeah, we had struck it, and then I think when I did the other deletion, it did something weird. But yeah, we agree with that. There's no longer all of the alternate language is taken off. Yeah, that's just for the operational guidelines committee. The discussion this morning was, I thought, really focused on the safety committee, and that's, the chief was in agreement on trying to get that moving forward.
We're okay with that.
Great.
I'm sorry, back up. Could we possibly get the same list from the fire chief as well of his 3 committee members and his 3 alternates? So that way it reflects some fairness on both sides.
Chief says he agrees. Good? Okay, great. All right, the next one was the additional pay. And this, we did confirm it was the 450, so we made that change there. And then there was some discussion about using a different Appendix D, I think it was. The one I think you were referring to is called the Training Reimbursement Agreement, and we have a copy of that if you want to confirm that that's the correct one. Sherry, that should say 2, not 3, to be consistent with I think that's the one you showed me, right? Yeah. Is that right? I do think that the policy, he had mentioned this morning that the Appendix D had a different reimbursement policy. We've handed him the one I think he was referring to, and I just wanted to make sure that that is the one, in fact, he was referring to. I think the only change that may need to be made to that document is that it says something about passing with a C, and I don't think that that's how the registry works, so. So we would need to change that, but everything else I think would stay the same.
Yeah, this looks like or I believe this is the one that's used under the city policy. So that, right, yeah. It's a different one than the training reimbursement agreement that was in the previous contract. That's what I was trying to figure out this morning.
Okay.
So this one looks fine. It does say 2 years instead of 3, which,
We changed it to, yeah.
okay.
I was trying to type too fast, so I apologize. So those were the requests that the union had on those, and we did agree to both of those to move this forward. I took the email that you sent, Cody, as best I could and put that tried to tag that on the end of that sentence. In terms of the first 3 attempts being paid for by the employer.
I think that's fine, probably including the first 3 attempts to pass the National Registry might make it a little bit more clear, but
So the tuition includes the first 3 attempts already? So it's like, it's already included in that first initial when they pay for it. So how did you want to change it?
the first 3 attempts for National Registry are included in the tuition? Mm-hmm. Okay, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Well, I didn't either. I asked the chief when we were talking about the wording to make sure it was right, and he said it was already included in the cost, which is why the city agreed to pay for the first 3 attempts, because it's included in the initial cost anyway.
As long as that's correct, that's fine. I guess not having any language in there that specifically says that the person, the member is allowed to take, additional attempts afterwards at their own cost, as long as it's,
So I guess that when we talked earlier, I think it was like, as long as they pass within the 6 months. So it's not really who pays for it after that. It's just as long as they pass in the 6 months. So if we roll into the 7th month, and it's like they can still take it, but they would have to maybe start repaying it back. So it's just after 6 months, if they maximize all their 6 attempts in 6 months, it really doesn't, they still get the benefit of having had the city, not having to pay the city back, but it's after that. So if you did have an employee who didn't maximize their 6 attempts but still wanted to do it, it's possible.
Yeah.
That look all right? Okay. Those were the only changes that we made. I know we had the discussion about the special teams. We did not change that at all. That's the same proposal from this morning. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about on this one? The additional pays? Nope. Okay, wages is next. So first, I just want to say we appreciate that the union came to the table today with a counteroffer on this. We understand wanting the staffing to be at a certain fill rate makes sense. We put 92% in there just so that the city has a little bit of breathing room as it tries to fill. And that was the compromise that we're proposing to get the second assistant chief put into the contract. We hope y'all will consider that. Again, we're trying to get to a place where both parties can agree to the terms and be comfortable with the terms as best they can in a negotiation. And we think this is a fair counter on this. Do y'all want to talk about the percentage?
I don't, not necessarily talk about it. I'm just curious. What's the difference between, that's not the right question. Why 92 instead of 95?
So we looked at what the vacancy is now at, assuming you're at 300. I mean, obviously the higher you go, the higher the numbers change. But if you hit the 300, that's 24, that would be at 24 vacancies, which is less than what there is now. So it would shrink the vacancies that we have now, even though the department's growing, without, getting the city in a position where it's like constantly trying to catch up. So the goal of the city is 100% staffing. Like to be clear about that is the goal. That's the reason they authorize the positions that they do. But the reality is people leave, people retire for whatever reason, they fall off, and then it takes time because civil service has a strict kind of structures for testing and promoting and all that stuff to backfill. So this accounts for that. And then 92 versus 95 was just looking at where the vacancies are now, shaving some of those off as the department continues to grow.
Yeah, and it's actually fewer vacancies than now, but you'll be adding 45 more positions too. So we're trying to account and balance that out.
So we are clear. 92% staffed rate means that we have 92% of the 300 are working here. And then it triggers the second assistant chief, right?
Correct,
Right.
correct.
Okay.
Where else would they be working? Just.
Is there a way that you want to word it to where it,
No.
I don't think there's any ambiguity. Like we
No.
try to use the language that y'all proposed for the 95, but if there's a way to word it differently.
This is just a very different approach to this from y'all than we've gotten the entire time that we've talked about this. So my question is very fair.
No.
Because we've talked about the strength versus people actually working
So
here
let's
because you
just
can
stay
make.
focused we're on a good path. Let's stay good. So
I
I'm asking,
understand.
so stay with me. What's a better way to word it? So
There's
that-
not a better way to word it.
No, I'm saying,
I just want
like,
to make sure that we're clear on exactly what it means.
No, stay with me. Like at some point, like we're not gonna be here, right? Like some point, like you and I could like not be here. And if there's somebody else sitting at the table, if you believe that that's not gonna be what's clear, then help me like word it to where it's like there's no question that that's what it means. That's what I'm saying.
I think that means exactly what we're,
We use the phrase 95% of this specified allotment. So we're referring back to the numbers there.
So, and the reason why we didn't use that is because you can by ordinance allot so many positions, but not necessarily have those positions staffed. So that's why we went with the word staffed. So like by ordinance, you can,
Either something fancy.
yeah, so you can appoint people by ordinance, but not have them things. So my thing is like, that's why we went with the word staff, but we can change it. I just don't want it to be confusion, you know.
And actually, I thought y'all had said staffed. Maybe I misheard earlier. Because we didn't have anything in writing, so I was going off of
Yeah,
what I thought.
but I think we use the word staff because in the ordinance, it says you increase the number by ordinance, but that doesn't necessarily, like right now we have 255, but that's not how many people work there. So that's why we chose to use the word staffed. But that's what I'm saying, if there's a way to word it better so that there's not a question as to what we are agreeing to right now, we could do that. Obviously, the transcript lives forever, but I'm just saying if we can make it plainer, I'm happy to do that. But that was just a word we thought staff would be better because that means that they work here.
Yeah, so we're talking about certified firefighters, right?
Yes, sir, that's the language that we use.
So what we had was if the employer's authorized strength is between 300 and 600 certified firefighters, and the staffing level reaches 95% of this specified allotment.
Can we
The
say,
second part applies. What is it about the allotment again that,
So what I was saying is that we use, like you can have by ordinance so many allotted positions, but not have those positions staffed, which is why we went with the word staffed. But if you want to change it, I'm saying it's fine to change it. My concern was I wanted to make sure that in the event that the people who are at the table right now aren't here, there's not a question about what it was intended to mean when we said that those positions had to be filled.
and, oh, go ahead.
Just say 92% of authorized firefighters or something like that. Because you use authorized at the top and then we're saying 92% of authorized.
So the authorized strength would be that that's how many positions were allotted by council, right? And then the 92 staff rate would be how many people are actually employed. That's the distinction that we were trying to make between the difference. Yeah, so we're once we're authorized for between 300 and 600, and once we have at minimum whatever the authorized strength is, whether it's 300, whether council gives us says we want you to have 300, or if they say we're adding 320, whatever that authorized strength is, it has to be 92% of that has to be staffed. That's what we're saying. Right. So that's I guess I'm trying to just explain like why we chose to use those two words, that phrasing separately, because obviously we could add positions to the contract and the authorized strength could be anywhere from 300 to 325, 350, whatever it is. But it would have to be whatever that authorized allotment is, 92% of that would have to be staffed.
Yeah, we could add and.
That way.
Authorized strength.
So the authorized comes from the ordinance. So do you want me to just say authorized by ordinance?
This wasn't supposed to be a trick, guys. We're really just trying to do what we thought y'all were. I get
And
there's a
that's
lot
all,
of
and that's all,
distrust,
and that's
but
all we're that's all we're doing is just trying to make sure that we do this right,
Sure.
like we all want to do. That's all.
do you want to move to the next one and think about this wording a little more? Or, okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and save the and though. Okay.
Temporary promotions was next, and again, we kind of went with the union suggestion on this one, which was just to take the language back out of the policy. We're not putting any of that in here. This is essentially deleting what we had done this morning, which just to strike all of this here and put it into the policy. So I think this is what y'all had proposed. We're in agreement.
And so, just to be clear, we kept the title temporary duties in a higher classification because we didn't really at the top because we didn't really discuss it, but we didn't change it in the sections 5 and 6 because we didn't get any feedback on how y'all felt about that. But if you're fine with the title change, then it would also be reflected in the paragraphs below.
Any concerns with that? Okay.
So, just to be clear, we're fine with changing the title as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just go ahead and show you here where it says here, temporary promotions, it'll have that language. It'll just say temporary duties in a higher class. So that's the only change in that section. It'll just be to match the changes where it was made otherwise.
All right, the entry level, oh, whenever she's ready.
Sorry, could you give us just 1 minute before we get off of that too?
Sure.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, you want to go back? It's in there twice. Let's see, it's in there twice. It should say after 10 a.m. or whenever the schedule's entered into ASO or any system used by the department. Or the department, it should say, or the department scheduling software or communicated through other means. It just should be another or. Okay. Right here. It's a Hemingway sentence. Right. Very verbose.
I'm not trying to rush, but do we need more time on this one, or does that look good?
So I'll tell you, this one was a complicated one, so we would welcome fresh eyes on it. If there's a way for you to kind of, if you want to take a stab at making it clear, it's fine. This one took 2 days to get to.
The schedule that impact, comma, temporary duties, like the comma there makes it read different. See what I'm talking about?
So it should be a duty, it should be a duty, it should be a comma after this. Any changes to the schedule that impact temporary duties and higher classifications shall be made in accordance with the efficiency of the department. Actually, so if you want to, after 10 a.m. or whenever the schedule is entered into ESO or any system being used by the department scheduling software, or communicated through other means, whichever is later, it should say that impacts the schedule or assignment for temporary duties, and a higher classification shall be made in accordance with the efficiency of operations within the department at the discretion of the deputy chief. So we can reword it that way. You want to do that? Okay. And I'll let you look at it. Is that better? You don't like it? Oh, I meant to take that out. So it's supposed to say whichever is later that impacts schedule changes or temporary duties in a higher class. This would probably say assignment. Okay.
It seems like there was one version of this, and maybe I'm remembering wrong, but that said after 10 a.m. or whenever the schedule is entered into the department scheduling software.
Yeah, we have ESO, but we also added the department scheduling software, ESO or any system being used by the department, it should probably say as the department scheduling software.
Yeah, I mean, you can leave ESO, but I guess my suggestion, just to make it a little bit shorter, is to just say the department scheduling software.
Okay.
But it's fine either way. It's just,
It's up to you. We added that. I think the last time we talked about it, you were like, what if we don't have ESO? So we added the any system, but we can take it out to just say this into this ESO or any system being used by the department for scheduling software. Or, I don't know, how do you want to fix it? You just want to take out the schedules and into any system being used by the department or the department scheduling software? We
Yeah,
can
just the
we can
department scheduling software is
that
fine.
works.
On the last sentence, I want to clarify in here that when there is a error and the member notifies the deputy chief within the 2-hour frame, that error will be corrected.
As it says, it's to ask for the schedule to be changed based on the
Right, it
error.
just says ask for it to be changed. It doesn't say that it shall be corrected.
I guess you can file a grievance if
Wanted
it
to
doesn't, but I'm assuming that they'll want to fix it so that to avoid that. But
Well, we would hope.
how do you want to address that concern?
Yeah, and in some way change the wording that if a member notifies them of an error within the 2-hour frame, that error shall be corrected. It said, we may not always be here. Just want to be clear for the people after us.
So I guess that's kind of where the language is, that if it impacts that the discretion of the deputy chief to change it, if it's after that time. So my thing is, that's why if they ask for it, and he believes that's not going to affect the efficiency of the department, he can change it. Anything before that time, I guess, is an automatic adjustment. We were saying anything after that would be at the discretion of the deputy chief. Anytime before that, that the error is caught, they'll change it. But anytime after that, it's at their discretion.
Right. That's what I want to just make sure that it's clear, and
Well, that's what I'm saying, like, so
that's the intent behind all of it.
So before then, if they're in the office, I know it gets crazy in the morning, but somebody catches it and says, "Hey, no, that's not right," before it's even posted, then they can do it. And after that, after it's posted and after the shift, we're in the middle of the shift, the deputy chief can make a decision based on whether or not it's going to be too harmful to move everybody around. So that's what we're saying. After it's posted, they have 2 hours to kind of bring it to their attention, and they get to make that decision. Before that time, it's automatically should be corrected, because the schedule has, like, no one has been reported anywhere, so it's not a problem to fix it. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's no disruption because nothing started. You should be able to fix it right then.
So in that 2-hour period, the change that's asked for would be at the discretion of the deputy chief and not necessarily required, is that what you're saying?
So after it's posted, it's the deputy chief's discretion. So if it's not going to be a big deal, then they should make the impact to change it. Anything before that time, when the schedule is still being moved around and people haven't reported, and you're not moving around personnel, it should be fixed.
Right, yeah, I think that when we talked about it before, the purpose of adding that 2-hour window after the schedule's posted is because nobody knows if there was a mistake made or not, if the schedule's not done. So that was kind of the conversation that we had, is once the schedule's done and the members are able to see that there was a mistake made, then they have that 2-hour window to contact the deputy chief and ask for that to be fixed. That was the whole purpose of the 2-hour period, not necessarily.
The shift starts at y'all get there 6, 7 o'clock, right? So if the schedule's posted, so what's the latest? Because my thing is, what you don't want is somebody to come at noon and be like, "Hey, it's wrong," or I didn't see it because I was on a call, and now it's you're halfway through the day and you're having to try to move personnel around. So my thing is, if on average you're saying that the schedule's in at 8 and so it's 10 a.m. before you're catching it, but my thing is, what's the cutoff to give the deputy chief discretion on what's going to be the most efficient for the department? Is it that 10 a.m. mark, or? So that's what I'm saying. We said whenever it's 10 a.m. or whenever it's entered into the schedule. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. if ESO goes down, right, and there's been time for that, that's why we say communicated by other means. But we also know that not everybody's like checking their email and doing all the other kind of things. So like, what's the determination for determining when the deputy chief gets to have that discretion? So do you want to change it to where instead of it being asked, that it's more definite in terms of, is that the concern?
Right, that the error will be corrected if a member catches it within that 2 hours between the schedule being posted.
So then can we say posting or notification of the schedule? Or it says posting of the schedule, official notification? Okay.
So what if it said, if an employee notifies within 2 hours of posting, the error shall be corrected? I mean, something like that.
Yeah, like
That's what you're
that.
talking about.
Do you mind if we discuss that with the chief?
No, I don't mind at all.
And while we're doing that, our agreed upon negotiating document says to go past 4 hours, we have to mutually agree. So do we both mutually agree to keep going? Okay, thank you. Chief?
Yeah.
One of the little girls that didn't make it through the flood, her funeral, her visitation, everything is this evening, starts at 5. And they're friends of the family, and I'd hope to make it there. So I would like to, is there something we can do to speed up the process, or as Cody said, land the plane somewhere?
You want me to-
Yeah, we're close. Of course, that's, if you need to go, we can.
Well, we're working, and I hate to have things stop.
I think we only have one more to go over. We had a couple of TAs from this morning that were ready. It sounds like we're maybe just a couple little minor non-substantive changes on a couple of these, but I think in theory, we're pretty close, so. All I've got left is the entry-level hiring, and it's pretty simple. We just took out that addition that we had this morning. We can put that up here in a second. That's good, okay. So this is the last one, and what you're seeing is just really original contract language. Y'all had made some additions, and then we had come back this morning with a modification of that. And so our proposal is just to leave it as is.
Yeah, we're okay with the original language with just those minor modifications like
yeah.
we made before, but we're okay with that.
Okay.
Say anything else?
That's what we have to present. Again, we took the comments this morning. We tried to come back with what we feel like is an appropriate and agreeable terms. And unless there's anything specific y'all wanted to touch on.
We were going to provide that language on the assistant chief numbers. Remember, we had talked about that, so we're typing something up right now
Okay.
that we could give to that I think will clarify what we were talking
I
about.
think we're in agreement on the idea, but just working out the language. I'm fine with that.
Right. We're close.
Okay.
We're trying to land this plane.
Just process wise,
If you want to give it to me, I'll just type it and put it on the screen if that's better.
Trying to figure out.
Is that a side issue, Taylor? Okay.
Interpret.
I taught second grade for a while. I can probably read it.
I didn't think it was that bad.
No, you could have been a doctor. Are you fine with me keeping the word certified firefighters as established by ordinance?
while she does that, the ones that I think we're ready to TA on, do y'all want to do that today? Do we need to come back for another meeting for that? How are,
Right. We did have firefighters certified by TCFP in there, I believe.
Okay, sorry. Let me take it off of this. I can't type when people are watching.
I don't know, it looks weird.
So it's going to read number of certified firefighters, number of certified firefighters certified by TCFP. That's how it needs to read. I saw the arrow going up, right, Taylor?
Yes.
Okay.
The number of firefighters certified by TCF.
Texas Commission of Fire Protection.
Spell that out.
Well, I'd rather stick with this. So I would rather, we had pulled that section out of the statute, the 300 to 600, and I'd prefer to keep that.
They have it in there. It says the number of firefighters certified
I know, but.
TCP as established by ordinance reaches. Okay, I'm put it up there. You can talk about it.
And I think rather than taking the time this evening to go over the TAs and the different things, if you give us a little while to go back and read through them and make sure no typos or anything like that in it, we can do something, turn that around pretty quickly.
Okay, it says 92% of those.
Would you mind putting it on the screen?
I can't type when people looking. Certified firefighters, positions authorized by ordinance. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
I just didn't finish writing out everything that was in that last section.
Yes, I see the dots.
So I guess we're talking, so what you, we can get you a copy of the document to where you can proof it, look at it, make sure things are good out there. Excellent point. I think that's very important. Look at it really good. Make sure it's to what your understanding is. And we're gonna have to come back one more time and be able to have a discussion.
I think I know what he's asking him right now. if you could send us those documents and allow us to look through them and make sure that everything is correct and based on what we've talked about, if there's no issues, then I don't know that we really have to come back here. We can just agree that we take the document and go take it to a vote. We can come back, but it's just going to delay the process even longer than it already
Well,
is going to have to be.
I think it's important that we look at each other and say we both want to take this to we're ready for it to go forward, because at some point it's going to have to go to city council.
Right.
After your people vote on it. So it doesn't have to be a big drawn out thing. It can be a 10, 15-minute deal where we say, okay, we both agree going forward with this at this point. And it can be time you to figure it out. We can set up a meeting really quickly.
Right, what our concern is that we will be out of town all week next week at state convention. And what we were hoping for is that we could make an agreement in here today that once we review those, we could send an email to you guys. We would have documentation that there's no issues, no problems, and then we would be able to just bring that just for the sake of wrapping this up today and avoiding having to go through a whole
Well, if
process.
you-
We would
if-
concede to that if you guys would.
Yeah, just to be clear that you agree to that, because that was a big issue.
Yeah, 100%.
After the last time. So I just want to make sure that you're able to look at it and you're in complete agreement the way that the document's put together.
Absolutely.
And I guess the only caveat is if there's some substantive issue, we do have to come back. We're not going to do that over email, but
Okay.
it's grammar.
So let's kind of look at the links. I don't know that I typed it exactly how he wrote it, but that's because, there was some questions. I agree with Cody. It's a little hard to read. But is that the intent, or did I?
Cody didn't write that.
No, Taylor wrote it.
Oh, he's talking about somebody else's.
Yeah. So the only thing I would say is that it probably doesn't need to say positions authorized by ordinance, because I think it says the 92 of those certified firefighter positions, because it says that in the staffing level reaches 92% of those authorized by ordinance. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think you could take out those positions. You can take out this part.
I think it just doesn't need to say by ordinance twice. 'Cause
That's what
it
I'm
says
saying.
Established by
Yeah.
ordinance.
92% of those certified positions,
See what I'm
the
saying?
staffing level reaches 92% of those certified firefighter positions, and you can take out this part right here, right?
Yeah, I think so.
You good with it?
Okay.
Would you like to adjourn the meeting?
Yes, the meeting's adjourned. Have a good weekend. Thanks for the good work and cooperation.
Just so we're clear, it'll probably be maybe Wednesday. Yes, yeah, it'll probably be Wednesday before we can get it all, just because we have council on Tuesday and it's a pretty long meeting.